Size matters. Your finger size. Why? What did you think I meant? Never mind. Today we're going to talk about your finger size. Now, everybody knows that dresses have a size, shoes have a size, your finger has a size too. And if you've ever shopped for rings, you've probably already figured out that getting the size right is pretty important. But not really. We'll find out why in a second. First, let's talk about what a finger size is. Now, in men's clothing, it's usually pretty simple. If you have a 48-inch jacket, it means your chest is 48 inches across. If you wear a 32 pant, it means you have a 32-inch waist. But in a finger size, are you a 7? An 8? What does that really mean? Well, the difference from one finger size to the next is only 2 millimeters. Or, if you prefer, 1/3 of 1/4 of an inch. It's that small. It's a very small difference in total circumference around the finger. But how do you know you have the right size? Well, there's many different ways to find your finger size, whether or not you need it for ordering online or for a repair, whatever the case may be. You can probably find 100 different ways to measure your finger. Pieces of string, strips of paper, complex mathematical equations based on your height and shoe size and astrological sign. But I'm going to make it really simple for you. Number one, in the description of this video, there is a link to an absolutely free tool we have on our website, DeMareJewelry.com, that solves this problem if you have to find your size out from afar. You can use it on a tablet, on a large smartphone. We even have a version you can print out if you want to eliminate all error altogether, and the instructions for use are on the website. The second best way to find your ring size, believe it or not, is to actually just go to a jewelry store and ask them to measure your finger. Now, with varying degrees of competency, some salespeople will be able to pinpoint exactly what your finger size is. I've seen some people that can call your finger size from across the room. Those are the good ones. But bear in mind, you're going to have to go get it measured more than a few times. And remember, when you go into a jewelry store and ask them to size your finger, there is an expectation of a monetary transaction. So be nice to those salespeople. They're trying to make a living too. Just, let them show you some stuff. Be nice to them. You never know, you might find a great pair of earrings while you're in there. That's good. Have fun. But your finger size changes. It'll change throughout the day. On average, an adult's finger will change 1 full size, sometimes more, from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed at night. And a lot of it just has to do with moisture, humidity, activity level, how much sodium have you had to eat recently. These things can all change your finger size. It's simple biology. Your finger is made of flesh and tissue and muscle, all of which expand and contract with cold, heat, and moisture. But to make matters even more complicated, your finger can also change another full size between winter and summer, and this difference is especially notable if you live in a place that has extreme temperature differences, like a city somewhere in the north, let's say Chicago or Alberta, where you have very, very cold winters and can have very, very hot summers. Or if you live in an environment that has a very humid season and a very dry season, you can have a whole nother finger size change. So, what's the point really in finding a finger size to get a ring made in if your finger can be 2 sizes different all throughout the year? It's like anything else. You need to find the best fit. Now, on average, if you're going to a store to get your finger sized, what you're going to want to do is come back a couple different times. Try it once in the morning. Try it once in the evening. If you have a rainy day, try it then if you can make it. If you have a really hot sunny day, try it then. You want to get an average. In the United States, specifically, so different other places in the world, but here in the US, the average woman's finger size is a 7. The average man's finger size is a 10. Now, I find the actual range to be about 5.5 to 8 for women, and for men, about 9.5 to 12. And things get complicated if you have large knuckles, but we'll talk about that in a second. What you're just trying to do is find the right size range that works for you. And remember, a size difference is only 2 millimeters. It's very tiny, but it's important because you don't want to lose your ring. If your hand gets too cold or wet, maybe you're washing your hands somewhere in public, if that ring slips off because it's too loose, well, that's a very sad day. That's what we're just trying to avoid. Now, if you have large knuckles, what you want to do is size the ring so that it's tight going over the knuckle, but not uncomfortable. When you have a ring that has to go over a large knuckle, usually what you're going to have to do is walk the ring off the finger. That's the best way to do it. Never take a ring off from the top, by the way, you'll compress the settings. But from the side, with your large knuckle, you need to be able to roll the ring, walk it on and off your finger. If it goes over the knuckle, it's going to be a little bit loose if the pad of your finger is smaller in diameter than your knuckles are. There's not much you can do about that other than getting one of those custom-made shanks. A lot of different companies are making them nowadays where they open up like a bangle bracelet or like a watch and close back around your finger. They are very expensive and there are limitations on what sort of design elements can be placed on those shanks, but it is an option if you have extreme arthritis or anything else like that. Always remember, when you're sizing yourself for a ring, go a little bit tighter than you would go looser. Now that's if all things are equal. If your size ranges from a 6 to a 7.5, get about a 6.5. So it's not too tight, it's not too loose. And don't worry, if you put a ring on for the first time and it's really tight, as long as it's not cutting off your circulation, you'll be fine. Remember, simple biology. It's just tissue and muscle and flesh. It'll actually conform to the shape and size and tightness of the ring. And it's actually kind of fun, a couple weeks into wearing a brand new ring, when you go to put it on first thing in the morning, and you get that really cool locking sensation as it sort of clicks into place where it's supposed to be on your finger. I'm always saying jewelry is a part of you. You'll understand what I mean if you've ever had that feeling. About ring sizes. It's not just finding the right average, it's not just about getting the right balance between tightness or some sort of looseness on the ring for your comfort level. It's also about the size of the ring itself. Allow me to demonstrate. I have two different rings on right now. One of them is quite large and wide, even has a pretty wide shank on the back, that's the ring part. One of them is much smaller and has an even smaller shank on the back. Now, these rings are two completely different sizes, but this ring I can only wear on this hand in the summertime. In the winter, I have to wear it on my left middle finger. That's not just because of expansion and contraction of the fingers themselves, it's because of the width of the ring and how much contact there is against the surface of the skin. Let's compare it to shoes. Let's say your favorite pair of penny loafers is a size 10. You wear size 10 all day long. That's the perfect size for you. It's the right amount of material, it's comfortable. You know what to expect when you buy your favorite pair of shoes from your favorite designer in that size 10. Well, I'm pretty sure all of you will agree when you go to buy a pair of sandals, depending on how strappy they are, you might be buying a size 8.5, size 9. Why? Because there's less material gripping the foot. You don't want it sliding all over the place. It's a flip-flop, not a fly-off. But when you go to buy a smoking hot pair of boots, especially if you have to pull them on, you're probably doing what, 10.5, 11? Am I right? Rings are the same way. Because the more material there is that contacts the skin, the less room there is for your finger to expand when you get hot. So when you slip your finger inside the ring, there's a lot more dragging across the skin. Now, when you have a good fit, this makes for a nice, tight, even fit that's actually more comfortable than a thin ring because any impacts are dispersed over a larger surface area. But it does mean you need to go up in size. That's why I can wear this ring on this finger and on this finger. Your dominant hand is usually about a size larger, by the way. Whereas this ring, because it's a lot thinner, it's actually 3 sizes smaller than this ring. Normally on this finger, just for comparison, I wear about a size 8. This ring is a size 7. and it fits just fine. Where, by comparison, a ring that's a size 10 is too loose. So it's all about the finger you're going to put the ring on, how you're going to wear it, and how much your size differs. Now, I officially free you from worrying too much about the size of the ring for fashion rings. You're welcome. The reason being is that a fashion ring, it doesn't really matter what finger you put it on. It works just as well on a middle finger as it does on an index finger, vice versa. Doesn't matter. The point of a fashion ring is to be fun, show a little personality. Doesn't really make that big of a difference. But wedding bands, engagement rings, promise rings, all the things that have to be on a particular finger, especially, you want to pay attention to the size. You want to make sure it's tight, but not too tight to cut off your circulation. So again, if you range from 6 to 7.5, get about a 6.5, and that'll make sure your ring doesn't come off when you're cold, when you're wet, and you'll keep it forever. For more information, go to our website at DeMereJewelry.com, click the link in the description. Go check out our free ring sizer tool, and go to your local store. Ask them to size your finger. If you're ordering online and you don't know your size, having finger sizers in different widths in front of you will give you the best possible choice, and you'll get what you want the first time. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, please have a day worth remembering.